morning, everybody. I toast to you and all you do. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So, I was thinking this morning, I was doing my chores and meditating because, while you do chores is actually a great time to meditate, especially if it's like redundant chores like the dishes or picking up dog poo or sweeping, things that don't actually require you to like really focus. And that are just kind of, your body knows how to sweep the floor or do whatever. And so those are great times to kind of put your brain into a meditative place and kind of let it go. But while I was doing that this morning, I was thinking that I kind of jumped in the other day. I kind of led up to it a little bit with the introspective journey, but I kind of just jumped in to why this is so important. And, well, I just jumped into it without talking about why this is so important. And so I think I should do that today, which also leads to the prompt for your journal today. But, so there was a study done in 2013. I'm sure there's a newer one, but there was a study done in 2013 that shows that people have over 50,000 thoughts every day. 50,000 thoughts every day, and over half of them are negative. That's 25,000 negative thoughts that you're having every day. That's crazy. The study also showed that you have the same thoughts repetitively day after day after day. So you're telling yourself the same 25,000 negative things every day. Now think about that. 25,000 times you have some negative thing go through your brain. Now some of these are like, I'm sure pretty obvious, like, ow, I hurt myself. Or, you pass somebody who's rude, or you're stuck in traffic, or, mundane life things. There's a mess you have to clean up. I'm sure every time I think about laundry, laundry, my nemesis. So you have negative, that's just so many negative thoughts, okay? And we're having these same thoughts every day. Now think about what that does to your overall psyche, like your emotional well-being, your state of mind, your, all those things. And the kind of environment that you're creating for your brain. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy to think. Like, it's like, it makes me sad to think that we're having that many negative thoughts. And that they're that reoccurring. And this is why introspection is so important. So before you start thinking about yourself and your brain and going into these introspective moments, those negative thoughts and that negative talk and that thought pattern goes unnoticed. Most people don't even realize how many times they tell themselves each day. I'll use myself as an example. So one of my negative self-talks is it's not good enough. And it seems so silly, like you're like, oh, that's not good enough, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. Okay, so but I hear that in my brain all the time, and then any time in my environment that it's reinforced, like my brain puts it on a loudspeaker, even if it's like somebody could be like, oh, this is really great, and then they give me a little piece of constructive criticism, and I'm like, see, it wasn't good enough, and it's like on a loudspeaker, okay? And before I started doing introspection and really thinking about where my negative thought pattern was coming from and why I was having this doubts and insecurities and stuff like that, I didn't even realize that I was telling myself that at least once a day. Okay, look at this article that is saying that. I imagine it's probably way more than that. But I didn't even realize that was the negative self-talk that I was having, and that I was telling myself that so many times during the day, because it's not even something that seems like mean. I'm not like, you're a dumb, I can't say a bad word, you're a dumb person. And so it was like, is that really hurting me? Is that really making that big of a deal? But it really is. It does. Every day makes a big deal. And that's where a lot of my insecurities and my nervousness and my, I need to do a better job comes from. Now, productively, it helps me to be a very productive person. It helps me to be thorough and to but on the other side of that, because I'm always trying to compensate for it not being enough, I stretch myself very thin and I try too hard and I overdo it. So with saying those things to myself every day, I didn't even realize until I started doing introspection and started thinking about where this self-talk was coming from and what I was actually saying to myself. And coming from that place, then it allows you to start to begin the healing process. So then you can recognize that. And when I hear that in my brain and I'm telling myself that, I stop and I remind myself, you know what you did today? You got up at 5 o'clock this morning, you take care of 3 kids, you keep a clean house, you are opening a small business, you run another small business, you're making YouTube videos, you're doing all kinds of different things. And I just start making a list of the things that I am doing and that the things that do get done. And I try to just get things done. It's really easy to be like, oh, it's not going to be good enough, so I don't have to finish this task. Why do it if it's not going to be good enough? And that's ridiculous. So we can't use it as an excuse. So I can recognize those moments and those thought patterns and that train of events that then happens. And I find that my anxiety has gone way down, because that's the other part of it. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in a video the other day, but you know, my own anxiety was so bad at one point, like I couldn't buy groceries. I couldn't spend large amounts of money. I really made me very uncomfortable. I can't be around large groups of people. I mean, I can. It just depends on the group of people, and as long as they're not littering. I have a serious anxiety around littering. I used to be really necrophobic. Like, I would drive blocks out of the way in order to avoid graveyards. Like, no joke, and it seems so silly now that my anxiety had gotten to that place, but it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy in my brain, because I was saying these negative things to myself, and then you don't realize that you start creating these safety mechanisms. You're like, well, it's not good enough, so I won't try new things. I won't go out and meet new people. I won't go and do something. Because if you don't try, you can't fail, right? Yeah. And just small things like that, where you just continue to build those things, and then you start getting more social anxiety because you're not going out as much, and then you're like, oh, anytime I go out now, oh my god, I gotta get dressed, I gotta look like a normal person, I gotta go do stuff and be judged by other people. That was another big thing for me. I just always feel like that scene in The Scarlet Letter where she comes out and they're all staring at her like, oh, you evil. Okay, that's If you haven't seen The Scarlet Letter and you don't know what I'm talking about, you're too young. I'm just kidding. Go watch it. It's a great classic old movie about hate and what hate does to a community and judging and ugh. Anyways. But your brain begins to build those up, and then, okay, think about it. So you're saying the same negative thoughts 25, I'm going to keep saying this because I think that this really sinks it into your brain, like 25,000. What else do you do 50,000 times a day other than think? Nothing. And if half of those times you're thinking negative things, and those negative things are the same thing every day, I'm not saying I had 25,000 new negative thoughts, but maybe 25,000 times that day I said it's not good enough. That's crazy. And so you start to think about people, like I talk to other people who have similar problems. They're like, well, I'm just really depressed. I can't get out of my house. I can't go do things. So think about this. Like, you're getting ready to go to work, and the whole time all you're doing is thinking about how everybody is going to judge you, and everybody's going to say something bad to you, and it's going to be such a horrible time. Negative, 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 negative. Why would you want to go to work? You don't. You just get stressed out, and you build that stress up, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and it just continues to build in your brain until you're so stressed out that your brain is not functioning. Because the thing that happens when you get stressed out is that your brain starts releasing chemicals. You start releasing cortisol. Cortisol is it's a steroid, pretty much. It's like a natural steroid that runs through your body and wreaks havoc. It's like, go, 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 go. It's like a drill sergeant running around telling everybody to go. And functions don't need to go like that. You're sitting in your office. You're not running from a bear. There's no reason that you should have these high levels of stress hormones in your body, norepinephrine, and your dopamine levels go down, and serotonin, and it just really messes with your brain chemicals. And this is all from the thoughts that you're having, okay? So if you're like, oh my God, every time I leave the house, everybody looks at me and judges me like I'm wearing a giant scarlet letter on my chest, and they all know everything, because I've literally written on it, okay? That's such a negative thought that you're producing all of this unnecessary stress, because 9 out of 10 people aren't even going to notice you as you walk down the street. Like, legitimately not even going to realize that you are a present existence in that place. Because most people are so into what they are doing in that moment with themselves and their people and their life that they do not notice the people walking around them, and they definitely don't notice them long term. And see, I just had that thought in my brain, and they're like, except for you, because you're crazy and loud and everybody is always looking at you. See, that was a negative thought that just ran through my brain while I was talking to you in the background. Okay? All of that just accumulates every day, and if we are never stopping to take note of those thoughts, then we're never going to move past them. I'm not a fan of the I'm not a fan of the entire AA program, but I think it does great things, and I think that it teaches great lessons, and the whole I'm sorry, the airplane just totally made me lose my train of thought, and I had it, and it was there. Well, maybe it'll come back. If it's important, it'll come back. But anyways, I love it. Later I'm going to watch this video, and I'm going to be like, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so when you are not stopping to take note of what you're doing and how it's happening, then you're never going to make that change. Oh, that's what it is. The first thing to changing the problem is accepting the problem and acknowledging the problem. And if you don't acknowledge that every day you tell yourself some negative thought about being judged or about something or whatever it is, everybody has them. I don't know anybody who doesn't have one of these. You have these little voices in your brain, or one little voice, however your brain has worked it out with your psyche. And it's saying things to you. You're saying things to yourself. Like I said, however your psyche has worked out what happens in your brain. You're having 50,000 thoughts a day. There's a lot going on in your brain. So when we don't take that note and we don't realize, okay, these are the negative things that I'm saying to myself, and these are this is the consequences of that, or here are the safety mechanisms that I've created, and these are the behaviors that I've adjusted because I'm saying these things, or I've built this belief, or whatever it is. Today we're talking about negative self-talk, I guess, and about how your brain is thinking. Maybe tomorrow we'll go into the experience thing, because that's different. I'm not talking about we have safety mechanisms from bad experiences that we had in our past. This is different. Some of our negative self-talk will come from those things. But, anyways, so you have to start making those notes. So the whole purpose of this time of year, all of the energy is doing this. The animals are going into hibernation, the plants are going into hibernation, the earth is shifting into this coldness because we are going to transform, and this is that time. So you turn inward and you start thinking about all of those things that you are doing that are affecting your behavior and your feelings and your thought patterns and all of that stuff, so that you can start figuring out where you want to make changes. It was funny, I was reading an article this morning, and it said that introspection can go too far when you become obsessed with it. And that's why I really like this cycle, because The time in which we focus on introspection is from Samhain to Yule, in these darkest times of the year before the sun begins to return and the days are getting longer again. Our days are getting... just have a busy neighborhood today. The days are getting much shorter, and we have a lot of darkness naturally, so you're spending less time outside. So like in our own natural cycle, you end up spending more time at home by yourself, which makes this just a great time to do that, on top of the natural energies and all of the things that are going on. So it really makes sense. But during these 40 days, and then at the end of it, you'll pick something, maybe many things. But normally I encourage people to do one thing. You pick one thing that you're like, you know what, throughout these last 40 days, I really noticed that my negative self-talk is my biggest problem. So I'm going to start working on my negative self-talk and changing my brain pattern to stop that. And we'll get there. But I'm just saying, like, and then you'll start healing. And throughout, from January, from Yule to Imbolc, you'll really start making those plans. You'll start really meditating, thinking, pondering, blossoming, planting the seeds, thinking about the things that you're going to need to do in order to change that. Maybe that's making a list of all of the self-talk, negative, whatever, or making a list of the goals that you need to do, or the problems that you need to fix, whatever it is, however you need to work that out. And then you start formulating that plan and putting energy towards it, so that by the time we get to the spring equinox, you're ready to put that plan into action. It'll blossom forward. You can begin doing those things. You've had all of this time for everything to process, and now you're ready. And then by the time the summer solstice comes, this is something that you are putting your energy into, you are focusing on, you are getting it done, you are becoming this person, you are making those changes, getting closer to your ideal self. And then we learn our lessons. So by the time we get to the first harvest and the equinox and back around, now we're going to take note. You know what I learned? I learned that I don't need to tell myself 10 times a day that it's not good enough, because I do a lot of stuff every day, and a lot of it is really good. I put out good stuff. I do a good job. I do my best, and I'm doing it. And that's what it is. And then I remind myself things like fake it till you make it. I really enjoy stupid sayings that are really old. So we'll get into that one day, because it's all about connecting with an energy of thousands of people said this. So you're tapping into that energy, and then you're going to fake it till you make it, and then you're going to make it because you faked it. Whatever. However it works in your brain. But then we come back around to the cycle, and you're like, okay, I did this last year. I learned that and checked this off the box. Now I'm ready to start a new opening, a new awakening. We go back into the darkness so that we can do that internal work, so that we can then reawaken. And we go through, and so each year you're working on a different thing, a different aspect, a different whatever. And it doesn't always have to be like negative self-talk or your brain or your psyche. Some years I've worked on magic, and I've been like, you know what, this year I really feel like I need to do more magic, or this year I need to do more with my family, or this year I need to do whatever it is that you come to when you get to the end of this introspective journey. And remember that this is a cycle, this is a process. It's not all or nothing. It's not one thing or all whatever. It's whatever you feel needs to be done right there. So, back around to what I was saying about brain thoughts. Let's start off. So, we talked about control yesterday, and we talked about your ideal self and the people who have influenced you. Now let's talk about how your brain is influencing you. Let's talk about what you're saying to yourself every day to create your reality, because there's the reality of the things around us that we can touch and, okay, this is real. But if we were all to look at my garden behind me and to describe it, everyone would have a little different thing to describe. Everybody would see the picture differently. Their reality would be skewed by the way that their brain is taking in the information. So how is your brain, what filters is that information going through in your brain? What beliefs, what thoughts, what's your thought pattern? So just start thinking about your thought pattern. Start thinking about the things that you think of often throughout the day. Start journaling them down. This will be a collective process all through the next 38 days. Just a collective process. You just keep making notes. Today I thought about suicide 10 times. That's something that you should write down. And why? Why are those thoughts coming to you? Today I thought about getting a promotion. Every day I think about a promotion. I need a promotion. Whatever it is that is on your list. Like, what is your brain telling you every day? Is your brain telling you to take a shower? Is your brain telling you to go get dirty? Is your brain telling you to climb a mountain? What are the thoughts that are rattling around in your brain that you are hearing over and over and over and over and over and over again? Okay? So, make lots of space for this. Maybe use a different color pen to write down these thoughts all throughout your journal so that you can keep going back to it. Maybe start a new journal that's just these thoughts. Reoccurring thoughts. Oh, my crazy manic brain was like, oh, you could publish something. Shh. So before I rant any further and my coffee gets any colder, I toast to each one of you and many blessings. And I hope that, one, you find some insight in these videos and that they're helping you get through your process of introspection and this time of year and helping you better understand why you're having all of these crazy brain. I guess a little more ranting. I get a lot of people who are like, I can't focus on anything, I can't do anything, and it's not just Mercury in retrograde, it's like this time of year, and I really have a lot of trouble, and it's because you need to be thinking, analyzing, focusing on these things that are rattling around in your brain. Write it down. Writing it down is always the best way to get it out of your brain, because then it's on the paper. If you're not a writer, read it into a tape or your phone. Phones all have recording devices. Make a video of yourself talking to yourself. Whatever it is. Some way of getting that information out, and then you'll find that your brain will calm down and you'll be able to focus on the mundane things again because you're not trying to rattle off why you have so much trouble focusing. If you just start writing that down, all the things you're having trouble focusing on and what's distracting you and what your brain is saying over and over again, then you will have a better understanding. You'll be able to start, oh, I'm having trouble dealing with this issue. I'm feeling this way. I'm getting these negative self-talk all day. I need to reprogram that. And I know not everybody likes reprogram. I'm a big fan of Pavlov. I'm going to get some. If I had more followers someday, somebody's going to comment on this. Whatever. Anyways, I toast to all of you. I hope you have a fantastic day and get out those journals. I challenge you to start writing down all of those reoccurring thoughts that you're having every day. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be. Start writing them down. See what your brain is actually telling yourself. Toast to you and all you do. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, so that way we can see you again. Oh, also, you're more than welcome to comment any questions you have, or if you have some insight while you're watching it, whatever, make a comment below. Many blessings.